oftentimes people are obviously also afraid for their lives. They cannot go out and protest all the time. But like you see in the film, protests happen as daily acts, every day, every minute. Sometimes you just sing a song, that is protesting. Sometimes you read a verse of poetry, and that's protesting.
Welcome to This Week at the NCPA on the 13th of November at 6:30 p.m. in the evening at the Little Theatre. It's a documentary film screening. It's an NCPA presentation in collaboration with Cinema Collective. The reality check film series promotes documentary filmmakers in India whose work reflects life and culture in the country today in a provocative blend of creativity and integrity. The film screening will be followed by a discussion. Admission is on a first come first serve basis, though NCPA members will get preferential seating till 6:20 in the evening. So I suggest you get onto ncpamumbai.com or book my show and just register, because it's free entry. And the documentary that will be screened, post which there will be a discussion, is And Towards Happy Alleys, an English and Persian film with English subtitles. It's about 75 minutes long. And the director, producer, screenplay and cinematography person for that particular documentary, And Towards Happy Alleys, Sreemoyee Singh, joins me. Hi Sreemoyee, how are you? And thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start by your fascination for Iran's film culture and the poetic works of some of their most amazing feminist poets. Talk to me about how early that happened in your life.
That happened when I was studying film studies in my master's program. I was 21, and we had this module on world cinema, and I instantly took to Iranian cinema. It really inspired me because, the cinema of the new wave in Iran was taught to us alongside the poetry of Farrukhzad, who I speak a lot about in my film as well. So the cinema and the poetry together inspired me because they both cinema and poetry spoke about how hopeful, or how one can still continue to have hope despite living in politically turbulent place like Iran, and how life goes on, and how expression also finds a way. And I learned that through the cinema and the poetry, and I was inspired, and I decided that I want to meet the filmmakers, and I basically prepared in the next 2 years, and I saved up money, and I went to Iran a few years later for the first time in 2015, and the journey of making And Towards Happy Alleys began.
Now, for those of you who don't know, these are numerous interviews that Sreemoyee conducted over a period of 6 years with filmmakers Jafar Panahi, Mohammad Shirvani, human rights activist Nasreen Sotoudeh, amongst others. And indeed, like she said, it shows the precarious situation in which critics of the regime find themselves, including that constant threat of imprisonment and being prevented from practicing their profession. How long did it take you to reach out to these filmmakers? Were they immediately forthcoming? Or because of all the backlash that they receive in their home country, they were a little wary of meeting with you? Was that the case?
I think I wouldn't say people were wary of meeting with me. I got meetings quite easily because I think it worked the other way around, where people were very curious to know who is this woman who's come from Calcutta and is fascinated so much with cinema and Persian poetry that she's crossed borders to come and meet us, and has also begun learning Persian to make sure that the meetings go smoothly. And I think it worked really well for me. I got meetings quite easily. It was very easy to approach them because, of course, I took the effort to learn Persian, and my background being an Indian really worked for me. Getting an interview with Panahi took the longest because he wasn't in Tehran when I was there. So I got an interview with him just about a week before my tickets to India were bought for. So but all the filmmakers were very approachable. In fact, they really supported me, and they really knew what I wanted to do. So this fraternity, or this brotherhood, sisterhood, as we say, of within the filmmaking community, really supported me. This really worked for me, and I was really backed by the artists that you see in And Towards Happy Alleys.
Well, I find it fascinating that you actually took the trouble of learning Persian because you wanted to pursue this passion of yours. How long did it take you, and did you find a private tutor in Kolkata or did you learn online?
It's I'm still learning actually. So I tried learning in Calcutta before I went there, but the Farsi that's taught to us, in India is still older Persian, which is in the texts, mostly the poetry of Hafiz, Sadi. That kind of Persian is taught to us. A lot of the written Persian is from the Mughal era. So it's not how people speak in Iran. So I did a year of that, or I really tried to do a year of that. And by the time I reached Iran, I think like the first few people I met, they instantly asked me to stop and said, "Oh, you're speaking like Hafiz, if we have to equate like Shakespeare, So they were like, you've got to unlearn everything and you have to learn everything again." But my entry point to Iran was getting myself admitted to a language school, which is affiliated to Tehran University. So my first 3 months in Iran was also spent in an intensive Farsi learning course. So we had like 5 days a week of intense classes, and we couldn't really miss classes because we had to sit for exams at the end. So that was happening alongside filming. I'm still learning. In the film, you see varied degrees of me speaking in Farsi. So towards the beginning, Persian speakers can get this really easily. I'm like really speaking like a kid. And towards the end of the film, my Persian is much better. It's much better now, of course. But I still keep learning. I read texts and I speak to friends in Persian. It helps to have friends.
Brave Iranian women whose uncompromising struggle has put them at the forefront of the protests that have rocked the country. They form a very important part of your documentary, and obviously, you wanted to document the effect of the Islamic Republic's strict and omnipresent censorship on the daily lives of those Iranian women. Talk to me about how tough it is for Iranian women. I mean, we only see what we see in the news or what's fed to us, but what is the reality on the ground, please?
The reality on the ground is, what you kind of see also, but what you don't see is how people are organizing themselves every day, and going out, like whenever there are huge, when like Masa Amini's death happened in 2022, there were huge masses of people, like they went out in the streets, they protested with the slogans death to the dictator. And these are the kind of things that don't get reported. Like you hear about the terrible things the regime does in Western media, and which is all true, but what doesn't get reported because of censorship is how bravely, or I wouldn't even use the word brave over here, because when something happens to you every day, when you are facing constant censorship, constant murder, constant penalties given to you every day, living in a place like Iran, you don't really care about if it is a brave act or not. You just fight with all your voice, your body, everything that you have. And that is something that is not shown enough to the world, because social media is limited, WhatsApp is limited, you have to use VPNs to access all of this, and it's extremely expensive, and it's, even if you pay a lot, you don't get the best ones. So this kind of footage doesn't easily get out of Iran, but this is what happens in Iran. There's a fight every day, and oftentimes people are obviously also afraid for their lives. They cannot go out and protest all the time, but like you see in the film, protests happen as daily acts, every day, every minute. Sometimes you just sing a song, that is protesting. Sometimes you read a verse of poetry, and that's protesting. Sometimes you just protest by not wearing your scarf, and that's what is happening in Iran right now. After the Masa Amini case, so many women have discarded the headscarf. And it's not because policing has reduced. There are cameras stationed everywhere. So if you walk the streets and if you are found without a headscarf, you'll immediately be penalized. And it doesn't always mean that you'll be imprisoned. You'll just find out one day that your passport has been seized and you can't travel. There's a ban on traveling. So these are the ways in which people, the government, the regime restricts you, imposes a fear mechanism within you. And despite all of this, people protest. And it's not as if they're not afraid. They are afraid, but it's really got out of hand. And protesting is the only way of living right now. So I guess these are the things that aren't reported enough. And I get access to this kind of news because I have friends. Yeah, but the film also talks about these smaller, everyday, smaller or bigger acts of protest which don't get reported. Mundane is the word, actually.
Now, you spent 6 years covering these filmmakers. Does that mean you made multiple trips? How many trips in total would you have made to Iran for the documentary?
So I spent 7 years actually to finish the film, which means I shot from 2015 to early 2019. So I made 5 trips and I stayed 3 months each time. And after that, the process of editing began. And, looking out for funds, getting money, all of that happened. So much money didn't come, and hence we took more time to finish the film. So all in all, in total, from conception to finishing, it took 7 years.
Did you ever encounter some tricky situations on the ground? Did the police, for example, while you were filming, ever ask you not to film when you were filming protests or some other stuff?
I didn't ever film protests. If I would film protests, I wouldn't be alive.
Wow.
Tricky situations happen all the time. It happens in India also. I don't think we live in. I've also. It's very important to say that I don't think this story, is so different from the story of us living in India. Yeah, I mean, the degrees are still different, but we are really heading there. So I also feel very similarly afraid to walk the streets, or I sometimes feel afraid to, speak my mind out in public forums. So censorship is really present here also. So tricky situations happen everywhere. Like, I've grown up with tricky situations, and maybe that also helped me navigate Iran better, because we've literally grown up with similar situations where someone tells you, makes a remark, makes a comment, and it puts you in a very uncomfortable situation. So similar things kept happening in Iran. Fortunately, me being an outsider, me being a tourist, also worked in my favor. So I wasn't really asked not to film, but I was extremely, extremely careful with where I took out my camera. I never filmed in places where obviously one wouldn't be allowed to film. In protests, firstly, the time that I was living in Iran, there weren't too many public protests. Now it has really increased. So I never went out because I knew that I was making a bigger thing. I was making a film, and if I couldn't risk getting caught. And for me, rebellion was happening through art in a sense. So I was also protecting myself. I was always ensuring that my hijab, everything was correct. I followed rules, because then, I was making a film, so I had to be extra careful. So I wouldn't say I have so much guts to open start my camera or flash it in public when people are protesting for bigger things, demanding bigger things. So I wasn't there.
Have you done quite a few of these, which is screening of And Towards Happy Alleys, followed by a discussion on how they've been going
We've
across
had
the
so
country?
many. Yeah, we've had so many. I've lost count. I've been blessed with really good festivals selecting the film. We've had many screenings across the world, actually, and India's been I don't know, people in India also love Iranian cinema, and the Iranian cinema has a special place in many people's hearts, cinephiles especially. So we've been getting a lot more love from India, a lot of it from Calcutta, Bombay, Delhi. So I mean, screenings never stop, and I'm extremely always very excited to have post-screening conversations, meeting with members of the audience and doing interviews, because that ensures I reach my viewers directly. So yes, we've been having a lot of it. I'm grateful for it.
Is this going to be the first of the NCPA, the National Center of Performing Arts in Mumbai? Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. At the Little Theatre on the 13th of November, 6:30 p.m. It's free. Or you're free to come in. It's first come, first serve seating. Please try and register ncpamumbai.com or book my show. This is a wonderful documentary called And Towards Happy Alleys, English and Persian with English subtitles, 75 minutes. Directed, produced, screenplay, written and shot by Sreemoyee Singh. And post the screening will be a discussion, so stay on for that. Sorry, you were saying something, Sreemoyee?
I just wanted to say that it sounds like I've done everything. I also have a team, and they've really supported me, especially in the post stage. I've worked with great editors. So I have an editing team of 3 editors, a great colorist, a great sound team, some great people who've helped in producing the film also along with me. So I'd really like to thank everyone. And I really want to give a big shout out to Cinema Collective for the love and care that they've taken to program documentaries, which are quite, sidelined in so many ways still. They've really taken care in getting interviews like this done, giving great slots, great days. They've really shown a lot of care. They've published interviews, not just of me, but a lot of other people whose works they've screened. So I wanted to really thank the whole team, and thank you for also, doing this for the film. I
Wonderful.
hope there's a great turnout tomorrow.
Of course there will be. Yeah. Thank you, Sreemoyee, and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's a show that has him preparing food live in front of the audience and talking about the relationship between food and caste.
Welcome back to This Week at the NCPA, the 1st of December. Very exciting. It's called Picnic with Playwrights. It happens at the Tata Theatre Garden, 11 a.m. onwards. Tickets are live as we speak at Book My Show as well as at the venue. It's a 90-minute event, and I find it very exciting that Purva, Naresh and Vamsi Matta will be in conversation with each other. It's almost like a podcast or a talk radio show, except that these are two playwrights in conversation with one another. An NCPA offstage presentation in collaboration with Bhasha Center and the DramaLibrary.com. And to handhold me through this one is Vivek Madan. I think it's the third time he's been on the show. He's one of India's foremost theatre personalities. Yes. And for the purposes of this conversation, he is part of the DramaLibrary.com. Hi Vivek, great to talk to you again. How are you?
Hi Rishi, lovely to be here again. Third time lucky. Well, first 2 times as well. Just to complete the phrase.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a podcast out amidst Mother Nature, and the background being NCPA's trademark sandwiches and cold coffee. And Purva, a lot of people in Bombay know about Purva, but I want you to give us a background about Vamsi Matta, because not much is known about Vamsi here.
So Vamsi is shall we say, a new playwright. He's been in the theatre for a few years now, and he is strangely a graduate of the Indian Institute of Science. So how he finds himself in the midst of this milieu is really only thanks to his own interest. And I was very excited about putting these two together because, to me, they both have a wonderful mix of rootedness in their own specific Indian milieus, but also a very urban and a contemporary kind of outlook. They're both extremely well read, and I'm sure they have read many different books. which is, I think, something exciting that we can look forward to hearing about when we're there. Books and plays and stories and songs, they both have a very strong musical background as well. Um, and like you said, this is a kind of a podcast or a radio show happening live, and I was just really interested to see what could come off this kind of conversation between two people who are curious about each other.
Because Purva's a friend, I know, and I can say this with great authority, that after her film production course from FTI Pune, she went into mainstream commercial cinema. She assisted Subhash Ghai and the likes of him for a few years. Thank God theatre came calling once again, because she started
Yes,
her life being in love with theatre, and her father
yes,
is one of India's foremost poets. Naresh
yes,
Saab,
absolutely.
very well known in UP and
Yeah,
MP for the kind of
yeah.
writing that he's done. And subsequently, I mean, she's traveled the road, written the world, written more than 10 plays, and
Hmm.
has also won a Sangeet Natak Academy Award. But
Yes,
Vamsi, on the other hand, and I read from a little bit of a write up,
yeah,
uh, his practice is profoundly shaped by his Dalit identity, experiences, and the context of his location, guiding the themes,
that's
questions, and
right.
mediums he explores. So, in
That's
essence,
right.
Vivek, you couldn't have found two people who are more different from each other.
Yeah,
And that makes for exciting stuff. So, talk to me about that. Talk to me about
exactly.
being marginalized, and using his
Hmm.
art to to engage with the audience.
So he does this wonderful play, which is really an immersive kind of experiential play called "Come Eat with Me," which he's shown in Bombay a couple of times, and I mean, he's traveled the world with it actually. It's a show that has him preparing food live in front of the audience and talking about the relationship between food and caste, and how each of us actually are informed. The food choices we make are very much informed by the backgrounds that we come from, and how some of this stuff really slips our notice on a day-to-day basis, and we have no idea about how somebody's either economics or somebody's taste or the ingredients that they use are all based solely or rather largely on where you come from and what you're used to and what is traditionally the food that is grown and is available in your culture, and in this case caste. So he's a very, very interesting gentleman, and he's just come back from a pretty long tour of America where he's been talking about this in various universities. And this is a topic that is worth exploring, that needs to be talked about, and especially in on a Sunday morning. Uh, why the hell
So,
not?
do you have a moderator or somebody who's functioning as an anchor, or is it going to be just a free flowing conversation between the two of them?
So there will be a framework that they're currently working on, that they're going to figure out. But what was so the sort of the scaffolding for the afternoon would actually be a set of readings that they will do themselves, of excerpts of their own work, of excerpts of work that they like, that has inspired them, that has stayed with them, that they would just like to share with one another and with the audience. So it's very much a oral experience as well that morning, the picnic. And in to add to this oral nature, we have also got in a musician, um, Prerna, who is a graduate of the Drama School Mumbai, a recent graduate of the Drama School Mumbai, and plays, I think, four instruments already. She, as the musician, is really just there to riff with them as they read, just to elevate what they say and to also give us in the audience a musical interpretation of the words of that excerpt. You know, um, it's I find it very moving to hear something that has words and tangible meaning, and then to hear something that is completely intangible, but is no less unifying, and that's what music does. So it seemed fitting to have that as an addendum to the Sunday morning kind of experience. Um,
Lovely. So that's Prerna on the djembe, dholak, flute, and guitar for
Absolutely.
some music. Just a little bit about the dramalibrary.com. I believe you guys are
Right.
doing some excellent work and helping unpublished writers display their wares, as it were.
Yeah. So the drama library is about 2.5 years old now. It's a digital library for unpublished scripts around the country. We currently have around 400 scripts in 10 different Indian languages available for free for anyone to read. It's also free for anyone to upload their own scripts. So we have no quality control or gatekeeping mechanism because who are we to decide what is a good play and a bad play? If you as a reader want to read it and says it's nice, then it's nice. It's good for you and you should go ahead and do it. And through the library, you also have the facility to contact the playwright and say, I want to use this play to with my students. I want to use it in my college, in my company, in my residents association, or I want to use it for an audition piece. And I'm really glad to say that there have been a lot of instances of people picking up scripts from the drama library and finding things that they didn't know they were looking for, right? Which is the surprise of a library. Because you go there and you pick 4 things that you know and then 2 things that you haven't heard of, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. And that's what we're really hoping to do with the drama library itself. So these kind of events that we do. Sorry, Rishi, you had a question. Go for it.
No. So these events that you do are pretty much, I would imagine, a precursor to that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're sort of an accompanist to it. Really putting playwrights and plays and playwriting at the center of an afternoon or an evening. And at the NCPA, I mean, they've been great to lend us their space and to have us do this because we do readings, of course, around the city and around the country. But the NCPA we thought, lends itself far more to a more dynamic experience rather than just a stage reading. So we said we'll do something a little more exciting and really try and see how we can make plays part of literature, like a canon of literature. Plays, unfortunately, they don't share the same stage, pun intended, as novels and short stories and poems, where those seem to be read as stories. But plays are stories. They tell a story. They are a window into a world. They have a different format, but ultimately they have characters and plots and motivations and intrigue and suspense and grief and loss and all the things that we look for in a story. So, why not read a play?
Well
That's the
said.
idea.
Vivek Madan, actor, theatre producer. His theatre journey has been incredible. Over 2 decades in the theatre, the recipient of the Shankar Nag Award 2021, presented by Ranga Shankara in Bangalore. He's curator for this particular event, which is an NCPA offstage presentation in collaboration with Bhasha Center and the dramalibrary.com. Thank you very much to our corporate sponsors. It's supported by Bajaj Beyond. Theatre needs and theatre, literature, the arts needs corporate support, and thank you, the good people at Bajaj Beyond. Purva Naresh shall be in conversation with Sri Vamsi Matta, and Prerna shall also be performing. Tickets are available now at the NCPA box office as well as at Book My Show. 1st of December, 11 a.m. at the Tata Theatre Garden. It's called Picnic with Playwrights. Thank you, Vivek, for your time, and see you soon, my friend.
94.3 Radio 1.